Okay, quick music disclaimer here. I do not own the rights to this music, which belongs to the rightful owner, who is the intoxicating mind of Dr. Frankenstein. So he made my intro and my outro, and I hope you guys enjoy. Check him out on Spotify and YouTube, and no copyright infringement is intended. Have a good day.
A clear choice of good versus evil, of right versus wrong.
Twisted Tales.
Welcome back to Twisted Tales, folks. Appreciate you guys tuning back in. Now, tonight's tale, we're going to talk about a little place back in Nova Scotia called Devil's Island. Now, Devil's Island might sound like a spooky name, but it's just part of my hometown, Nova Scotia. However, the stories that are told, from person to person, from generation to generation, it lives through us all. From sitting around bonfires with a few pops, having a drunken tale, to the older folk with their warnings or foreshadowings of just crazy shit they seen or, a tale they heard growing up. Kind of makes us recall some spooky stories, or twisted tales, as it were. So I'll now indulge you with this tale of Devil's Island, Nova Scotia. Now, Devil's Island is just a little place located on the northeastern entrance of the amazing Halifax Harbor. The name had originated from a French merchant and was actually called Deville's Island. The first settlement on this 30-acre island was in the 1830s, and by the 1850s it kind of prospered into 3 houses and a school, and by 1901 it had grown to 18 houses, so it kind of began to give a little place of home for the residents, especially one man. His name was Ben Henneberry. He was kind of a man who had a vast knowledge of folklore from all parts, and he always talked and spread the stories around with the townfolk. So, Ben Henneberry, he was actually a fisherman born 1863. He was most famous for being the top contributor to hundreds of folk songs, and most of these folk songs were added to Helen Creighton's novelist collection. She wrote books and, scary stories, all that shit. And even though Devil's Island's deemed the most haunted site in Nova Scotia, it's mostly just abandoned today. The island did start small, but eventually was home to the Henneberry family. But it was kind of like a great little town, their other members come on and, family and all that shit. Everybody's just pretty tight-knit. And the earliest 20th century, a tale awoke of a Henneberry leaving his friend's house party. And let's just say, this guy was a little full, and he decided to venture home. Now, en route back to his homestead, he kind of walked to the river a little bit, where he saw a talking halibut. So conversing with the fish, it claimed to be the devil, and within 24 hours, he was going to die. So, his soul would eventually be ripped to hell, and this scared the shit out of the guy. An hour later, he returned to the house party that he just left from. He went back to tell the story to his peers, all while soaking wet and ranting like a lunatic. His stories were kind of just dismissed, right? The boys were just like, whatever, right? But the next day, he was found dead, sitting upright in his dory. A dory meaning like a small, shallow draft boat, or like a lightweight boat. And nobody could figure out a reasoning behind this accident. And a few days later, going to the shore or whatever, his friends seen kind of a sign of a struggle. And there was footprints in the sand. One set of the footprints was cloven. And the islanders said, well, maybe the devil did come for him. Now, there's another story that tells tale of another Henneberry, a young baby who died in the crib of the family home. Now, after the burial, strange sounds of the baby crying and screaming would echo through the household, driving the family crazy. and they were unable to sleep. So eventually, getting fed up enough, they tore the house down. Now, upon doing this, they decided to recycle the wood to other family members and neighbors and shit, and they decided to build houses. And everybody who rebuilt also heard the cries of the little child crying and screaming. Pretty crazy, eh? There's another event that came upon a folklorist named Helen Creighton. She frequently visited Devil's Island quite often, and she was collecting stories for her book, Blue Nose Ghosts. She wrote down about her experiences she encountered while visiting. There was a haunted house with little footprints showing up on freshly painted floors, burning fires that just burned and did not engulf anything around it, foul smells, and even a baby dressed in white. Now, the unexplained fires and lights that are still seen today, some of them think it's ghosts, but most other people think that it's just people camping on the island as well. And my last little tale I have for you is about a lightkeeper by the name of Charles MacDonald. He ran the lighthouse from 1956 to 1967. He had awoken one night to find the ghost of his late grandmother standing by his bed. She reached out, grabbed his arms, and began to pull on MacDonald. Now, MacDonald had a wooden leg, and he used his good leg to kind of brace himself, and he used his wooden leg to push her away. But the leg ended up going right through the apparition. This scared the shit out of the guy, and he ended up taking off for the night. Now, these days, there's not much remaining on the island. Most of them were moved off to the mainland during World War II. The last permanent resident moved off in the year 2000, and he was a Norwegian artist. Currently, the island is owned by a Halifax entrepreneur named Bill Mont, and the lighthouse that was built in 1877, this one actually replaced an earlier tower in 1852, is currently still standing, but it's not functional. And even the island was used as a base for rescue lifeboats up until the 50s. They also saved crews, that became stranded while approaching Halifax Harbor. So it's quite the little history here. So I'll leave you guys with that. I mean, even the lighthouse just a really big influence on folklore even today. It's just a huge community landmark. So that's my little tale for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for tuning in. Keep kicking ass. Have a good work week, guys. Take care.
Twisted Tales.